Have you ever felt, well, just plain stuck? You know, that feeling like you're pushing and pushing, doing all the right things, but you're just not going anywhere? It turns out there's a really surprising reason for that feeling, one that we almost never recognize. And today, we're going to put a name to it.
Wow. This quote really just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's this idea that all those feelings we try so hard to avoid, the doubt, the frustration, even the sadness, they're not actually the problem. They might just be the very fuel we need for our own transformation.
Okay, so let's talk about that feeling. Let's call it static. It's that noise on the line when you're trying to connect with your purpose or your creativity or what your next move should be, but all you're getting is just noise.
I mean, really, does this sound familiar to you? You're showing up, you're doing the work, you're checking off all the boxes on your to-do list, but that spark, that feeling of being alive, it's just not there. It feels like you're trying to have a conversation in an empty room. And these symptoms, they're super specific, right? This isn't just some vague off feeling. It's that totally flat energy when you feel like you should be excited. It's your mind going completely blank right when you need to be creative. And that feeling when you pour your heart into a launch or a project and it just fizzles.
And here's the part that is just so incredibly frustrating. It's not like you're sitting on the couch doing nothing. No, you're meditating, you're journaling, you're buying the courses, hiring the coaches. You are putting in all this effort. But that result column, it just stays the same. It's a loop that can make you question literally everything.
And what this all boils down to is this. When your channel is clogged up with all that static, you're not actually creating from a space of what could be. You're just recycling old patterns, old fears, old stories. You're manifesting from memory. It's like trying to drive to a brand new place using a map from 10 years ago.
So what is this static? What's the real root cause of this feeling of disconnection? Well, the diagnosis is usually something we would never even think of. It's not that you're lazy, it's not a lack of willpower, it's grief.
The story we tell ourselves, the myth, is that we're failing, that we're blocked or we're lazy, that we're somehow the problem. But the truth is often so much more tender than that. Your system isn't broken, it's mourning. It's processing a loss that you might not have even put a name to yet.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about the loud, dramatic grief that you see in the movies. We're talking about something much quieter, unrecognized grief. It's the kind that shows up as numbness, as that creative block, or as just going through the spiritual motions without feeling any real connection. It's that deep ache that something is just missing. And this kind of grief can bubble up from so many places we don't even think to look. It can be the grief of not feeling seen, the grief of having to censor your own voice just to fit in, of living in survival mode for so long, the grief of tying your self-worth to how much you produce, or maybe the deepest one, the grief of all the desires you had to abandon to be more realistic.
So, what if we completely flipped the script? What if we stopped seeing this feeling as a wall we have to break through and started seeing it as a doorway? The moment you see it as a doorway you can walk through, everything changes. The grief itself is holding the key.
Okay, so how do we actually walk through that doorway? Well, it's not about fixing it or trying to solve it like a math problem. It's a process of alchemy. It's about learning how to transform this heavy, leaden feeling into pure gold.
And this alchemical process, it actually has 4 pretty clear steps. First, you have to name the grief. Then, you make space for it in your body, creating a sense of safety to actually feel it. From there, you just allow it to move and release. And that's what clears the channel, so you can finally reconnect to that source of pure potential we call ether.
Step 1 is absolutely the most important. You just can't move what you refuse to name, and it all starts by asking yourself some really honest questions. Like, what are you afraid to admit actually hurts? What parts of yourself have you had to swallow down just to be accepted? What is that feeling just beneath the surface waiting for you to just acknowledge it?
You see, this is the heart of emotional alchemy. You're not trying to manage your emotions or control them. You're not even trying to solve them. You are simply listening. Listening with such a deep presence that the emotions themselves start to realign you, to literally reassemble you back into your truth.
So when you actually move through this process, when you walk through that doorway of grief, you don't just go back to the way you were before. No, you emerge transformed. You step into a whole new way of being. You become the magician.
Now, when I say the magician, I'm not talking about pulling rabbits out of the hat. This is an archetype for someone who lives in a state of co-creation with the universe. It's that feeling of being in flow where you trust divine timing, but you're not just sitting around waiting. You're taking action that feels clear, aligned, and really, really potent. And just look at the shift this represents. Before, maybe your creations were coming from a place of fear of not being enough, fear of failure. But after moving through the grief, you start creating from a place of pure devotion. Your work stops being a defense mechanism and starts being an offering, a true expression of who you are.
So how do you know you're reconnected? Well, for one, the static is gone. Your channel feels open and clear. Stillness is no longer something you're afraid of, it's where you get your best ideas. Your desires come back online and act as your compass. And those desires, they stop feeling like desperate demands and start feeling like gentle, exciting invitations from life.
And I think the biggest lesson in all of this is that this clarity, this connection, this magic, you can't earn it through more hustle. You can't force it. It's received through surrender. It comes to you when you finally soften, listen, and allow what is true to move through you. So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. What if that heavy, stuck feeling you've been fighting so hard against isn't the problem at all? What if it's the very thing designed to carry you to your next evolution, to your deepest truth, and to your most powerful magic? What if the grief is actually the bridge?